Trey, and welcome to the Wheel Watchers podcast. I'm sorry, I just couldn't resist. I just saw some headlines recently from World Star and others that a NASA scientist says that 7-foot tall black-skinned aliens look like African Americans after stepping off mile-long ship. Now, I'm about to show and prove why Muhammad's got the devil on the run, because this article, even though at the end of the day it is true, but they mixed up two different headlines. So let's start off with what is going on. Well, Norman Bergen did not say that they looked like African Americans. He did say that there were black people getting off these ships. See, they mixed up two different headlines from two different sources. So we're about to get to the bottom of this. Now, I'm repeating this again. I'm about to show you why Muhammad's got the devil on the run. In the shadows of NASA's most closely guarded secrets lies a story that few have ever heard. Meet Dr. Norman Bergen. I have a picture of him here. An eminent former NASA scientist and aeronautical engineer. His career began during World War II during the Douglas Aircraft Company, and later with Lockheed Missiles in space, holding a security clearance way above top secret, higher, he claimed, than even the President of the United States. Bergen was entrusted with the data and imagery the public was never meant to see. One of his key assignments? Analyzing the images from NASA's Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 probes, launched in 1977 to explore the outer planets. But it wasn't just the far reaches of space that caught his attention. Now, at the Alameda Naval Shipyard in California, Bergen came across something extraordinary. A photograph not from Voyager, but from the legendary Apollo 11 mission in July 1969. The very mission where Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on the moon. In a rare 2012 interview with Project Camelot's Kerry Cassidy, Bergen recalled that image. Now, this is from the interview, a transcript I'm reading. Cassidy says, "If there are craft, there are beings. Are you saying these vehicles contain beings who might be like us?" Bergen says, "If you want to know about people, well, at Alameda Naval Shipyard, they had a picture, I believe from the Apollo flight Buzz and Neil were on, that shows black people getting off." Cassidy says people with dark skin. Bergen, not dark, black. Cassidy, black skin? Bergen said, really, black? Cassidy said, were they tall? Bergen says, yes. Cassidy asked, how tall? Well, they stepped out of the doorway. I'm not sure how high that was, but to stay safe, I'd say 7 feet would be a conservative estimate. 7-foot tall jet black being stepping off a craft linked to Apollo 11. The image was there. Dr. Norman Bergen saw it, and then, like so many pieces of the great puzzle, it vanished. Oh my God. See, this is why it is important to come to the Nation of Islam. As a matter of fact, everybody in the ufology community have been ducking and dodging the Nation of Islam for decades, because we were the first people to even put out any information on these so-called UFOs before the world even had questions or answers for them. We have continued to be ignored. As a matter of fact, we have reached out to several sources to have a sit down, and yet nothing has come from it. I wonder why, because these so-called UFOs, it all comes back to the reality of God. But I digress. Let us continue, because this part of the headline in the news about them looking like African Americans actually comes from another source, not the same source. And oh yeah, what I read previously actually comes from notes that I took on the book Chariots of the Black Gods by Dr. Wesley Muhammad in his chapter Black Muslim Gods on the Moon. Please pick up Chariots of the Black Gods, because it is very important. And also pick up UFOs and the Nation of Islam, because I'm about to go into that right now regarding this second quote that's from that headline. Who is the person that actually talked about these cigar ships that landed on an Air Force base and had black people coming off of these huge weapons that were described looking like African Americans? Let's get into that. As a matter of fact, I found a very good source and the person who actually said that. It is found in the book UFOs in the Nation of Islam by our brother, student minister Eliot Rashad Muhammad, and I'm about to read from a page. This is from page 347, again from UFOs in the Nation of Islam. With all the red tape associated with disclosing information about UFO sightings, Some former military and government workers have used radio broadcasts to anonymously share information that would otherwise bring trouble to them. Some nationally syndicated radio programs have become a hotbed for UFO reports. While some calls and reports are clearly outlandish, there tends to be some accounts that convey a sense of credibility. One caller who was simply identified as Charles from Echo Park, California, described himself as a 67-year-old former Vietnam-era vet who now has a red file. He narrated what he believed is the reason behind the U.S. government's UFO cover-up. Charles, whose voice connoted that of a Caucasian male, disclosed what he claims to have witnessed during the 1980s. While on a U.S. Air Force base, 3 cigar-shaped spaceships were sighted. One of the ships, while he described as over a mile long, landed on this base. Several hundred young black men came out of the back of the craft, standing in military-styled ranks. When describing what he saw, Charles exclaimed, "These particular race that landed those ships and that are seen in these huge cigar-shaped ships, they are a black race. They looked like African Americans." He continued that they had a look about them as though they had never been conquered, much to the surprise of George Knapp, the radio announcer. Charles continued that while on America's military base, these impugned black men were said to have met with unnamed U.S. commanders. Charles even suggested that Ronald Reagan's UN address, where he encouraged humanity to band together against a common quote-unquote alien enemy, was in reaction to this encounter at a U.S. Air Force base. While this research does not assume that Charles' account is fully credible, it does stand to reason that such an encounter would not be too far-fetched. After all, the U.S. government has, on several occasions, officially denied and lied about their UFO encounters and the reality of this phenomenon because its connection to the darker people of the earth. See, family, this is why it is important that we study our own scholars in the Nation of Islam. Shout out to student minister Ilya Rashad Muhammad. Love you, bro. And also, again, please pick up the books UFOs and the Nation of Islam and Chariots of the Black Gods, written by student minister Dr. Wesley Muhammad. See, this is why it is important to come to the Nation of Islam. Please stop ducking and dodging us. It has been too long. We have had the answers before the world has had questions. That's why we thank Allah for coming in the person of Master Fard Muhammad and family. I digress, but let me get up out of here. And please always remember, where there's a will, there's a way. I'm Brother Trevor, aka Brother Trey, and I'm out. Peace.